Hello and welcome to beautiful sunny Belgium. It's the site of the Skip Barber 2K World Cup at Spa-Francorchamps, and it's going to be a glorious round one in the 15th season of the 2K World Cup. Your commentary booth is Dylan Goyle, Gary Weaver. Track information for Spa. It's a big one. 4.3 miles long, 6.9 kilometers. Temperature, it's very nice, very kind to everybody, but also breezy. 76 degrees Fahrenheit, 24 Celsius, 12 mile per hour winds with a 19 for 20 for the Celsius. I'm actually not so sure, Gary. We're American here. We're going to Americanize this broadcast.
Only slightly, but regardless of that, it's great to be back here and see the 2K World Cup back in action. I am very excited to see how they'll do here tonight, or this afternoon, or what have you, essentially, in terms of wherever you are in the world. But this is going to be an absolutely incredible race. I'm really excited. I see some very familiar names back here, and, well, they're back at Spa, and, well, this is where series information in the past comes in handy.
Yes, series information does come in handy, and this is going to be a draft fest, Gary. These cars are very much known to enjoy getting in line and getting some, a nice push of momentum, and that's going to obviously hold true going down the Kemmel Straight, and you can't really even forget about the rest of the circuit because these cars, well, they get up to around 115 miles per hour, and in doing so, that means there's going to be a lot of flat-out times on the circuit. We're watching De Vries go around in the 86 Skip Barber machine. 3.5 minutes is all that's going to separate us from this qualifying session. It's one lap that these guys all have to get their best time on the board after their one lap and the 3 minutes are up. We'll start gridding for the race. But Gary, you did the 2K World Cup Skip Barber rounds last season. What from the grid are we going to all have to expect going forward in this race?
I expect some of these drivers to be racing really close to each other because some of them have known each other for a while. For context, the last race here in the 2K World Cup was December 1st of 2019, so it's been roughly about 5 to 6 months ever since then. So a little bit of an off season, if you will. I'm looking back through the past races just to double check. Well, the last time that the 2K World Cup Series had raced here at Spa was all the way back in August 5th of 2018. So a little bit of return for not only the season, but as well as a very well-known racetrack here on the schedule as well.
It's a well-known racetrack for everybody with Spa-Francorchamps because you know what bothers me though, Gary? Everyone likes to talk about Eau Rouge, but we always have to remember that it's really Radion that's the big sweeping uphill curve at the beginning of the lap. Just a reminder for everybody that these Skip Barber machines are going to be using the typical Formula One Grand Prix circuit as we're still riding on board with De Vries. They're going to be using that typical pit straight instead of using the GT World Challenge, which I'm not sure if anyone has seen the 24 Hours of Spa, but that is certainly a long snooze fest of a pit road.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure these drivers are pretty lucky that they're not using that entirely combined pit road because that would be quite some time for them and quite slow. But even just on the exit of that second pit road is going to be really something to not warrant these drivers to have the best time on exit since they're going around the entire track instead of immediately getting back on like they are with this current pit road configuration and circuit, where this could be, I believe, the endurance pits, where it's the first portion and first half essentially of the pit stalls. So these drivers really just going to be coming straight out on track here after turn one with that hard right-hander.
Yeah, and when you are coming out of the pit straight, and we're talking about this, I'll explain in a second why, but when you're coming out of the pit straight, you're merging right onto the track, and there's going to be a lot of traffic that's going to stick right with each other. It's almost like a super speedway in NASCAR, you're going to have to pit with a group if you want to keep at the same speeds, because that draft is going to be so important, as De Vries is about to end his flying lap going around the last chicane before reaching that striped finish line here at Spa. And that time is going to be a 2:49.9 flat. So at the moment, that is not enough for a great qualifying time to be up top, currently sitting fourth, but you see all the names coming up. There's a lot of drivers participating in this field. We'll get the final number once we do have the grid formatted and set up. It appears to be 46 drivers, so a lot of fun to be had. And we'll go through the starting grid now at Spa. Tama Simon is going to be starting on pole, with Simon Edwards rounding out that top grid spots. Tom Ward, Anthony Catt, third and fourth on the second row.
Fifth place is going to be Aaron DeFrita. Sixth place is going to be Mendy El Fathi. Martin Cruz starts off in seventh, and Gonzalo Calvo starts eighth.
Going back to the fifth row, Alejandro Lero is going to be in ninth. Philip Lebar, who is the organizer and probably the best driver in the circuit of all time, he is starting in 10th. Stefan Stoyles will be in 11th. James McCritchie is going to be in 12th.
13th is going to be Thomas Torp. I believe that is Zazo starting off in the 14th place position in number 213. Andrew Picario starts 15th, and 16th is going to be George Machuchinsky.
Victor Guaginua, and remember, we are looking at these names, some of them for the first time, so apologies for any mispronunciations, is going to be in 17th. Manuel Lucetta, 18th. Tero Merenti is in 19th, and Neil Kemp in 20th.
It's going to be the rest of the field showing up here on your screen as these drivers start to grid up through. And right now, at this point, it's all anticipation.
Yeah, we're going to have to skip through the rest because there are so many drivers, and this field is about to get going here. The lights are going on, and everybody is gridding. I'm excited. This is going to be a lot of fun for all of us to watch. You hear the revs coming up, and La Source is going to be the source of some issues. I'm sure everyone can say, the green is up and away we go. Thomas Simon gets a very good jump in front of Simon Edwards, and he's going to have some prime position going into the La Source. You see all the cars. This is unbelievable how many drivers are here. Anthony Catt gets himself situated into fourth, and we've already got some sort of a straight line. Some action. You see a car going outside the track limits, going around La Source, and here we go. Eau Rouge and Radial going up this steep hill to the right, to the left. These cars lose almost 10 miles per hour going around the bend. They're all making it quite fine so far. The Kemmel straight after the Kemmel curve is going to be huge. We're having a draft battle for the lead. Simon Edwards pulled out, went to the right of Simon, but he couldn't get enough energy to go by. He's going to try and slingshot his way by again, but better of it as they're going to go through that first sector pretty cleanly so far. A pass for fourth. Catt is not going to be happy with there, but it's De Vries who started in P5 that is now in P4. It's been a pretty clean start so far, Gary.
So far, so good. Anthony Catt, I have seen his name many a time up through the pretty much top 10 of this series, and he's definitely showing that, well, he is still able to at least stick with it here. So more than likely been running Skip Barber's officially throughout, just getting a little bit of practice as well as on his own time. But already there is a little bit of a gap now between third and fourth place, as it's going to be Simon Edwards off in first, Tomas Simon in second, third place Tom Ward, and then it's Aaron DeFrita and company all the way behind from about fourth place on back.
Yeah, a bit of separation between Simon Edwards Ward and the rest of the group. Anthony Catt in P4 at the moment. It's probably not going to stay like this. Now, there are pit stops that are going to happen. The teams, the cars are only allowed to fuel it up to 40% of that maximum limit. That means that 2 pit stops are going to be needed. Only 2.1 gallons of fuel in these Skip Barber Formula 2000 cars. And you see this huge draft here. It's going to come into play very much. They're going to have to pit from around laps 4 to 7 and 11 to 14. It's a 14 or 18, excuse me, lap race. So we'll see what strategies are used. We don't know if they're going to use a double stinted tires or maybe even triple stinted, but we are going to have to find out. We do know 2 pit stops are going to be needed. Simon Edwards, he locks up the brakes going through the final chicane, and Thomas Simon is your leader at the end of lap 1.
Right now, as you can see, all the drivers still fanning out, still trying to swap positions, still trying to figure out where exactly to go here. And this is something you really rarely see. It's just a bunch of skip barbers just charging their way down into the first and massively narrow right-hander, essentially, and how pretty much of a U-turn that is compared to the rest of the course, like long sweeping turns that really just sweep their way around and have a little bit of a smooth curve. Not that first corner though, and that straightaway is kind of intimidating, really, to see all those skip barbers just run their way down. But now for the first time, pretty much up at full speed, they're going to be racing their way down the straightaway here, down the Camel Straight, and it's going to be Tomas Simon trying to make his way by Simon Edwards for the time being. But here comes Aaron De Frita, who might split his way through and make it 3 wide, or 2 wide rather. And it's going to be Aaron De Frita to the lead.
Aaron De Frita is into the lead here at Spa, as Simon Edwards has definitely dropped a bit. Not sure exactly where he is on the field right now, but Ward is in P3, Simon in P2. We do have the pictures coming back for you here. And we got to say, De Frita, he started the lap in P4. That is using the draft and seeing it come through to your advantage. Anthony Catt started the race in P5, now in P4. And there have been some winners and losers so far to begin this one. Everybody from around P8 back has a huge gap from the top 7 racers. Philippe Lebert is one of those drivers dealing with it. Gonzalo Calvo is struggling to catch up, and you've got to think, with the draft being so big, even if there's around a 1.5 to 2 second gap, that is huge in these cars.
Especially with the pretty much just how large the gap is and how really not exactly slow or fast that these cars are, but really just how they really just handle the draft and their acceleration and anything. So we'll see how this plays out. Unfortunately, Simon Edwards currently with a couple issues over a couple mechanical issues essentially. So we'll see if he's able to get the car back out on track. But for now, it doesn't look to be so. But taking a look at the second group, I should say, regardless, about 7th or so place on back, 8th place on back between Steven Stolz, Philippe Lebert, and well, here comes Lebert already to the left-hand side. This is going to be a second passing zone here at Spa, as opposed to the Camel Straight. This is a good opportunity to make a pass, maybe even just after the small left-hand corner here.
Yeah, this, we're not really sure what's going on with the Simon Edwards 52 machine. It might be just a disconnect. I don't think he's going to be rejoining. That's unfortunate, but it happens, and that's just what we're going to have to deal with. De Vries will lead that second lap. Going into La Source, he has a good advantage. Simon looking down the inside. You see all the skip barbers going around. A beautiful camera angle here, pointing at La Source. You can see the run down to Eau Rouge and coming out of the final chicane. Look at that, almost 4 wide going into La Source. That could have been a catastrophe.
That's possible regardless.
Yes, P4 is, or 4 wide is possible, but catastrophes always can develop when it does come. Just ask Romain Grosjean about La Source and his opinions about it. Simon going to the left of De Frita. He's gonna get a big steam and go into the lead here. It was almost a given the fact that this draft is so massive. You can see all the cars just sticking their noses right down the inside, thinking about a move, but obviously it might be smarter to just let the car drift closer to the curb and line up a pass down the straight.
And for the time being, it's really much better off to just let the cars in front battle it out. But already the next lap, it's going to be the opening of the pit window. So we'll see if some of these drivers really that haven't made any passes, if they're going to just continue to sit back in this next run and really just let everyone run out the fuel themselves, because if you're running up front like Tomas Simon is right now, you're running and use all of the fuel possible. You really can't hold back, essentially, because, well, you're not in the draft. You have nothing really to back you up. You don't really have a bubble of air that's kind of pulling you forward and saving you air, like, say, Tom Ward behind Aaron DeFrita for the time being. He's just sitting here. So he's got a little bit of a slight advantage, maybe able to extend by probably an extra lap than what he plans for, but really no one knows, and we'll see what happens within this pit window.
Yeah, the pit window will open very shortly, so it's going to be fun to try to tell, 40-plus cars and what strategies they're going to be using. The field being so big means that there's going to be some drivers who go pointless after this race. It's your best 8 out of 10 finishes that count towards the championship standings. The first place driver will come out today with a pretty good points haul, 50 points, and the 40th place driver will get 1 point. So that's how it works there, and obviously it keeps counting down, 50, 47, 45, and then so on until you get to 30 points, and it goes down 1 from there. So top 10-point finishers will separate themselves a little better than the rest of the crew, but that's going to be something that we can't have time to talk about at this point, as DeFrida watches Simon go around the outside into La Source cleanly. You're going to see a lot more swapping, like Arjuna, our producer, and I were watching with the Pro Mazdas at Canadian Tire Motorsport Park on Friday. Some draft shows, they're always fun to watch.
One thing that isn't fun to watch is me seeing all these drivers narrowly taking the source, and even I've had experience where you just take it so narrow as some cars are actually already in the pits, and the pass for the lead, Aaron DeFrita actually already going by on the left-hand side, and he's going to immediately make a pass down the Camel straight. So, well, that didn't take long immediately, but this is where actually something else comes into play, is that you really don't want to be able, you really don't want to be the car behind somebody else when entering pit road, but you also don't want to be the car in front of somebody else when entering pit road, because if you're trying to come in at, say, 60 miles per hour, then this person behind you is also trying to come in at faster speed as well. You're both trying to get the advantage of pit entry. You have to watch your spacing on the pit entry as well, so gotta be careful when it comes to getting down to that speed limit.
Yeah, it might add up into a bit of an accordion effect coming out of that final chicane. If the car in front of you is stopped, but you don't plan to stop, that car, when they're trying to pull right out of the first part of the chicane, might cause the other competitors to group up and stack up, leading to some slower times, and it might help the group in the back, however, catch up somewhat, as Philip Lebert has managed to get back Mick Ritchie for P9. After that, however, it actually is going to be P8, as Steven Stoyles has lost out pretty handedly there. He came into the lap on P8. We see the top 12 on the leaderboard. A big mover is DeFride, because he started back in P5. We followed him on the qualifying lap he had, and now he's already up into P1. That was the standings at the beginning of the lap. Simon has now fallen back to P2, but down this long straight, there's going to be a draft. Simon pulls out of the air. It might not have been the best time to do it. And coming towards the chicane, who's going to be the first of this leading pack to go into the pits? We're watching everyone kind of come down here. Simon was looking to the outside. The door is closed, hard on the brakes, into the chicane, who peels off to the right. And the first one, it looks like Anthony Catt is going to be that first one from the lead group to come into the pits. So it's going to be a bit of monkey see, monkey do, I think, with the rest of these guys. But Catt is the lone driver from that top 10 pack to go into the pits. I wonder how that's going to play out going forward, Gary.
Yeah, it's going to be using a little bit more fuel, maybe trying to undercut, we'll see, but for the time being, though, a little bit close to the moment there for Tomas Simon, almost getting into the right side wall there, the secondary pit road. But regardless, I'm wondering how Anthony Catt will fare, because he has absolutely no one to work with for the most part, so I'm really quite surprised, especially that no one, well, not surprised entirely, I should say, but at the same time, I'm actually, a little bit surprised that Simon Edwards, as Tomas Simon, or Simon Edwards rather, is Massa, goodness gracious, we'll get it eventually here, but Tomas Simon making a pass on Aaron DeFrita for the lead as, not surprised that Anthony, goodness gracious. Yep, I'll try in English here eventually. It'll take some time here. It'll take multiple attempts. I'll see if I can get it this time. I have another about 2 minutes at this rate, but Anthony Cap hitting after being in the draft is something that it's really quite interesting because he's been in the draft, but maybe he is trying to undercut, maybe trying to take an earlier schedule here, maybe try and jump the field by the end and maybe get a few positions, but right now it doesn't look to be so.
Well, Rob Adams is actually in a two-man group now with Cat, so maybe that draft will still be there. It could benefit him to have gone first in the pits. As we see on the screen, there's a half-second difference between Cat, who is from the UK, and Rob Adams, who is a Canadian boy here, another North American, joins our commentary booth up there, as they are just continuing to roll around the circuit. Currently on lap 5 of 18 here. It's going to go by very quickly. His gap to the leader is 30 seconds. Will the leaders come down into the pits? We're still not sure yet, but it's going to happen within what? The next lap or two if they don't come down this time?
More than likely, it's about 4 to 7 estimated, so we'll see. I wouldn't be too shocked if some drivers were thinking, well, you know, I could probably stretch this out just a little bit more, so we'll see how this plays out. You can see where everyone is in comparison now, and you can kind of see the very slight gap from the top 5 to the entire rest of the field. You can see as they come down into the chicane near the start-finish line here, turns 19, turn 20, you can see a few pixels of white essentially being the racetrack. That's how large the gap is according to that track map there. So we'll see if anyone in the top 6 comes to pit road. Tomas Simon is the only one in that front group to go to pit road.
And I'll tell you one thing, if anybody knows, Tom Ward almost gave a little bit of a juke there as he was going to go down. I think he wants to follow whatever DeFrita is going to do because he wants to follow the leader. The leader might have the best possible chance here. And DeFrita, he's done a very good job. Within a lap or two, he got himself back from P5 up to P1, doing a good job here. You see all of these cars coming back. The top 5 have separated themselves, obviously, once the pit entry and pit exit is situated for all of these drivers. We'll start to have a better idea of the gap between everybody else as we see coming down towards the Kemmel Straight. Tom Ward is going to watch as El Favi is going to move to the left of DeFrita and take the lead. So, my word, we have a new leader. It's El Favi going into the combs.
27 of Mendy El Fathi doing a great job and immediately just getting on the throttle as quickly as possible, just trying to at least somehow, some way get a little bit of a gap separated. And through that series of corners, actually did get a little bit of a gap separated as well. So I'm pretty sure a few of the fans watching, a few of the viewers watching here are a little bit of fans of the 77 of Mendy El Fathi, so a little bit of TV time for them as well. But right now it's going to be a really just why, yeah, he's actually made gap as well, so I'm not sure if DeFrita is either backing off trying to save fuel or if the 77 is just doing that good through the corners.
Well, another thing, he is part of Racecraft Esports, so a few drivers here are backed by some teams, which can lead to a bit of a fan club for all of them. You know, this isn't team racing like the 24 Hours of Nordschleife that we broadcast yesterday. This is just a one-man show, but a one-man show doesn't mean that teams don't exist and they all root on their fellow teammates. To your point, it might be a bit of just waiting back because when you are in the draft, you are able to save a bit of fuel. As you see everyone come out of the probably the quieter, the slower portions of Spa into the Blanchimont curve that's in just a few hundred yards coming up. You know, this track is so fun to watch for just normal Formula cars, but once we do have these Formula 2000 Skip Barber machines, they're able to just drift and slide and draft their way. It's something you really don't see that much with open wheel cars, albeit Indy cars have that advantage when it comes to the ovals. We're seeing all the leaders start to head down pit road. It's going to be a big party in this time of social distancing. I don't think anyone wants to stay out of the party, Gary.
Ooh, I had to take a little bit of an inhale and exhale of a little bit of a little bit of nervousness there. There was almost a little bit of contact on that pit entry between DeFrita and Alfathi, but they do manage to stay off of each other. And yeah, it's pretty much everybody coming into pit road now. I wouldn't be surprised if we saw a sea of red just kind of sitting here on the main straightaway.
Yeah, so everyone basically is sitting in pit road. I believe only a couple cars are not around that section right now. The 204 machine of Stoyles, who is trying to get some laps back. He did not go actually down pit road, so Stoyles is going to try and stretch it without a draft partner. I'm wondering if he is now starting to regret his decision. The gap to the leader for Anthony Cat is 23 seconds at that start of the lap. Remember, Cat was one of the first drivers from that lead group to go into the pits. So on lap 7, you're seeing a lot of guys already start to stretch it. And if they're pitting on lap 7, it's more than likely that the next pit stop window will be around lap 14. As we're down the Kemmel Straight here, you see the whole group of Skip Barber vehicles having some fun, swapping some positions. It's it's fun to see all of them coming down the Kemmel Straight. There are just so many of them that it is seriously anybody's race. And obviously, a few guys like DeFrida and El Fathi, Tom Ward, they're separating themselves from the rest of the pack now, Gary.
And that separation will be key, especially with how I just love these cars personally. Is the fact they can just you can kind of throw these around. You can kind of throw them around a lot more than you can with the more top tier cars, say the Renault 3. The Formula Renault 3.5, essentially, maybe even 2.0, or just a few, just essentially pretty much other cars on the service here related to Formula driving. And just like that, you can see a slide like that by El Fathi. You can still hang on to it. You can't really do that in any other Formula related cars that are a bit more more powerful than these 2000s. But regardless, this should be the proverbial lead essentially once everything gets sorted out. We'll see how everything sorts itself out once again. But regardless, I believe Steven Stoyles and I believe as well the 303 both have yet to pit. We'll see again just how everything sorts itself out.
Yeah, Stoyles is one of the guys who is yet to pit. He's about to come through the chicane, and if he doesn't make that right turn, I'll be very curious as what's going through his mind, and he comes a little wide. He's going into the pits at the start of lap 8. So I am curious here, Gary. What will it mean if you stop on lap 8? You're going to have to stop on 16, but you're not going to have any draft partners. What's that really going to mean? 2 laps of fresh tires, but no draft? How much time is it actually going to save you?
It depends if the drivers even do take tires at all as the lead group starts to make its way by. But as far as pit strategy goes, it really depends on just if drivers do decide to take tires or not, and really how much fuel they decide to take for the second portion of this race as well. As I believe Tomas Simon has now been recycled back into the lead, so I believe we now have our top 3 sorted out already in the little group on their own. Tomas Simon, Anthony Cat, and Mehdi Alfathi. Martin Cruz, I believe, might be 4th, 5th place. Aaron DeFrita, 6th. Gonzalo Calvo, and it's just on from there. But in terms of tires, well, I'm not sure if drivers really would want to take tires, especially since it's a sprint race here as well. Sprinting by on the left-hand side, it's going to be 25 Anthony Cat, and falling directly on his gearbox is Mehdi Alfathi. I'm pretty sure he wants to make it 3 wide, but decides against it.
Yeah, so Simon played that very well, and Anthony Cat, who stopped a lap earlier, meaning he's going to have to stop a lap earlier again unless he's able to stretch the fuel. I don't think that's going to be possible. So Cat came out as a big winner here. Cat's in the lead here with Thomas Simon starting the lap in P1 around La Source, and now having to concede around Brussels 2. Cat and Alfathi. Alfathi is right on Cat's tail, and I think we're going to have a battle for the lead coming down between 3 drivers unless anybody farther back in the field is able to do anything. You see that gap forming. P3 back or P4 back is not going to have much of a shot unless the draft is helping and the competition between these top 3 drivers you see from our chopper cam, it starts to heat up. It's totally going to swap positions, though. These three drivers are not going to be content, especially coming up into the Kemmel Straight in a half lap time.
Yeah, it's going to be for quite some time, but here is the number 12 machine of Ken Halliburton, who is a teammate of Mehdi Al-Fathi, currently sits P8. So luckily, both drivers running in the top 10 for the time being. A good little bit of a bobble, but save by Halliburton, and he's doing pretty well so far. And well, speaking of teammates, Mehdi Al-Fathi makes a quick left-hand pass. He is now back in the lead, proverbial at least before start-finish line. So coming into the final chicanes, as well as I see pretty much the entire group that Kane Halliburton is with, just all behind him.
Philippe Lebert is also in that group, and it's weird because sometimes our timing doesn't update until they cross the line. So with so many drivers, it's hard to necessarily say, all right, this one is absolutely at this position at this time. But we can say now, with everyone crossing the line, Philippe Lebert is in P8, and Kane Halliburton is in P7. Guys, he started in P35 on the grid. What a fantastic job Halliburton in the 12 car has done. As we see, the highest rider is by far Halliburton. Francisco is not that far off either. He rose 18 positions. Everyone except for Simon, who started P1, is gaining positions. That's in the top 10 right now as we go into the Kemmel Straight. Al-Fathi holds the lead. Cat wanted to pull out to the right, but Simon gets the big jump, and he's going to be the man that comes in front to Lake Holmes here at Spa. We are on lap 9 of 18. This is going to be the half point once they cross the line again, and then we're going to get another 9 laps of drafting madness here.
That's going to be something to really keep an eye on, as well as a little bit of cloud cover taking over the track as well. So we'll see, depending on how long that lasts, depending on how long that cloud cover will last, this could help out in some cases in terms of how much these drivers can really push the car. Maybe just a little bit more, depending on how much the track cools down. But it could spell a little bit more grip for the time being, at least.
The ambient temperature, 76 degrees Fahrenheit. The track temperature is 94 degrees Fahrenheit. And for these 150 horsepower driven cars, I don't know how much the grip of the tires will necessarily matter. They have some treads in them, so if it did happen to rain, they wouldn't be completely, in real life, I'm saying, if they have these treads on them, they're not going to be, hurting too much. Like an F1 car would be because of the slick tires, and they drift so much anyway. I love how you're not even respecting track limits here. You're just having to go through the drift and get back on the throttle as early as possible. I don't even know if you're on the brakes really at all. Maybe to Lake Holmes for a second and to La Source, but you're just kind of drifting and going off throttle for the majority of it, Gary. And as we move through the rest of this lap, we'll see Al-Fathi look to the inside at the chicane. That doesn't work at all. And 1, 2, 3, Al-Fathi, Cat, and Simon. Or Simon, actually, I do apologize. Simon's in front, and we'll see it updated on the live timing here. Simon, Al-Fathi, Cat.
And right now, for the time being, that is going to be, you can see right now, fastest lap being set by Kane Halliburton, 2:47 at .692. And Tomas Simon currently leads the way for now, but this is pretty much the halfway point of the race. A little bit the calm before the storm, and this happens pretty much most within these 2K World Cup races, especially with, well, just how depending on how many pit stops are needed. So with this, it's going to be a 2-stop race, and this is essentially calm before the pit stops happen again and before the final dash to the end, as Al-Fathi with a great run off of the El Rouge and Radion. Well, he's going to get a great run down the Kemmel Straight, and well, just like that, move that 77 back up front.
Yeah, and Cat has fallen quite a bit behind here, as you see both Al-Fathi and Simon falling right in line. Now, Simon started on the grid first, but as you see around him, you have the P6 starter, the P4 starter, and then back in the fourth, you have the P8 starter. We're asking ourselves, well, where's the P2 and P3 starter? If you remember, Simon Edwards had a disconnect issue right around the start of the race. He has 5 laps down, and Tom Ward, 2 laps down, also had a disconnect issue. So Ward and Edwards, unfortunately, not able to join this top rank battle, but it is Elfadi, Simon, and Kat's show to run at this point.
At this point, it could be maybe just even the entire top 3 on their own for the most part. Maybe Anthony Cat, I don't know. We can't really count him out, but at the same time, I'm pretty sure he's laying back to just save a little bit of fuel. But he does have, well, a long ways behind him, I should say, Martin Cruz, Gonzalo Calvo, and Aaron DeFrita. They are 4th, 5th, and 6th in their own group with a bit of time behind. So we'll see. But with Anthony Cat coming in earlier, pretty much early, the first pit stop, the first pit window that he had, the first opportunity of the pit window, well, he immediately took that opportunity. So we'll see if he's either running hard or just trying to get an undercut.
Yeah, it might come at this lap's time. I honestly don't know if he's going to try and stretch it one more lap, because it's a 2-stop race, and if you stop now, you're going to have some fuel issues, I think, coming down to the last lap. So if I'm Cat, I see if I can stretch it out for a little bit. That's the problem with going in early. As we'll see, it comes around the chicane, will not go into the pits, so he'll wait another lap. Expect for him to come down into the pits at the start of lap 12. Going into La Source now. Simon is in P2, watching Elfadi, and we see the entire group of cars behind. There's been a bit of a separation between the top 12, 13 or so cars and the rest of the pack, as the 46 car filled race is just unbelievable for the guys in the action here at Spa. These cars are hitting 116 miles per hour once they hit Eau Rouge, and once you get up to Radion, it's 106 miles per hour. So much momentum is lost coming up the big hill of Radion and Eau Rouge, that connected little point, that once you come up to the Camel Straight, you're still going uphill a little bit. And I'm looking at Simon, who has just pulled into the lead as we have 3 wide back in the action in the pack. Didn't even reach that 116 mile per hour stop again, as the crew is all watching everybody drift around the Skip Barber Racing cars, and the yellow rims of most of the cars. Some of them have the dark silver or black rims. The yellow ones really stand out, though. Everyone has their own personal liveries here for this race on lap 11 of 18. We told you it would be a quick race. It started around 30 minutes ago. We're already well past the halfway point. Gary, what has been your impressions of the action so far?
So far, it's been pretty exciting, and right now it's just relatively tame for the most part. But right now we still have Tomas Simon, Mehdi Elfadi, and Anthony Cat in your top 3 for the time being. Aaron DeFrita is going to be sitting in 4th, 5th is Gonzalo Calvo, and 6th is Martin Cruz. Kind of shuffled around just ever so slightly for the past couple of laps. And then we have pretty much 8th place on back with Kane Halliburton, Mehdi Elfadi's teammate, Kane Halliburton, and then just everybody else behind them for quite a ways. So it's relatively tame for now. I'm pretty sure it will more than likely get a little bit of spike in the action here when it comes to the final pit stop and when everything is sorted out. I'm pretty sure we're going to be seeing passes left, right, and center more than likely.
I bet you are right there, as we are traveling on board in that front pack. Anthony Cat, the number 25 machine, makes a daring pass around Blanchimont, and he's going to look to, I don't know why, gain the lead. He's about to cut right to the right into the pits. Drives in deep on Simon, and oh, that could have been some trouble as he cut right in front of Simon to go into the pits, but everything's good. Just kind of a head scratcher there. Could have been a very costly mistake from Anthony Cat.
Somebody did go wide. I thought someone had spun out, but someone just did go wide. It was only the 45 of Benny Simonson. Anthony Cat does have a few more drivers in company, and by a few, it's about 4. Andrew Picario, Kane Halliburton, Diego Francisco, and Felipe Bear. So they are all also on pit road, but quite a ways behind Anthony Cat from when he pitted. So we'll see, depending on how much fuel these guys take, on when they'll all leave pit road. Hopefully at the same time for each other for a little bit of a group, but for the time being, maybe not.
And you really cannot forget about where DeFrida is, because the number 86 machine is going 3 wide on the Kemmel Straight as we speak. And my word, just the amount of action here with these skip barbers it's so fun to watch. DeFrida was fighting for the lead and was in the lead for a few laps. There is a 1-point bonus if you are able to lead 3 laps. So we'll be able to talk about that once the broadcast is close to its end and some official standings. The 2K World Cup is such a great series to watch. It's in the 15th season at the start, and we're going to a great track in the next race. Not next week, but in 2 weeks' time, because it's practically every 2 weeks. Sometimes it's every 3 weeks. That's how it works. But yes, you see 2K World Cup, Zandvoort. It's on May 10th, same time if you are in the Eastern time zone of the United States, 4 o'clock. So if you want to go from that point, anywhere you want to go, 20 UTC is that time stamp. Lap 12 of 18. Not sure if we're going to see the rest of the drivers from the lead pack go in now. They did go in 2 laps after Cat did earlier, so we'll see if Cat is able to get the undercut to work. Looking back to see if he has any help alongside him, and because last time he did have some help, but this time he's completely on his own. Kane Halliburton is one of the guys who also went into the pits on the same lap as Cat, but Halliburton is a few seconds back of the man in the 25 machine, Anthony Cat. So with no draft help here, it's going to be interesting to see how it works as Simon and Alfavi go through the final chicane one last time, and they're going to peel off into the pits. So they are going into the pits at the start of lap 13, end of 12, and DeFrida is going to stay out another lap, and he's going to take the lead of this race as Gonzalo Calvo goes into the pits. So DeFrida is certainly going to be one of those drivers that is going to most likely get that 1-point bonus for leading 3 laps, Gary.
Driver in second place is going to be Steven Stoyles, quite a ways back though, so we'll see how Stoyles can really, wonder if Stoyles will actually start to think about his time, about his pit strategy last time, and think maybe I should pit when Aaron DeFrida pits. And you see there with a 4-second gap, he has 4 seconds to think about that before it's pretty much too late. So we'll see how that goes for the 204. Hopefully he will keep that in mind until then, but it is until the final. There is time until the final stretch, and we'll see what exactly everyone has in store. As the back of the field, where the drivers that were battling for the lead are back out now, and that's Amos Simon and Mehdi Al-Fathi, Sacco to first and second, proverbial first and second, I should say, after
and don't
the
forget,
front 3. Yep.
Don't forget, Gary, Anthony Cat has lost a ton of time here on that proverbial lead pack, so he is almost taking himself out of contention. There's 2 cars separating him, but Alfavi and Simon down the Kemmel Straight. That's Martin Cruz and Gonzalo Calvo. And if you also remember, Calvo went into the pits while DeFrida did not. So is the strategy used by DeFrida, is it going to work? Because he's the only one out of these lead pack of drivers who is going with a little bit of a wild card here. And also, Martin Cruz has worked himself back up, as has Gonzalo Calvo, into this top battle with Anthony Cat trailing not too far behind, but it's almost taken him out of contention.
Yeah, it's really something to keep an eye on. That's just how far these drivers are from not only each other, but really just as well as what their pit strategy is and how much fuel they really have left. And we'll see as Tomas Simon looks to the left-hand side of Mehdi Al-Fathi, but decides against any type of movement. And that 77 with a great defensive line, but right now, if they're going to keep going side by side, it's going to easily become a 4-car fight, maybe even a 5-car fight, maybe even 6, depending on how much they keep battling.
So I'm checking my live timetable, and the difference between DeFrida and Simon is around 28 seconds. That's around how long a pit stop here takes, and with both Simon and El fighting the entire way, it could be helping DeFrida, who we're trying to catch along. DeFrida should be in the pits, and yes, he has crossed the pit entry line, and we'll see where he comes out. It's the last major piece of the domino that has to fall for this final stint, as El and Simon are coming around the final chicane, and you know it's going to be an interesting kind of look here. Right now, Stoyles is showing to be front, and Gary, I'm not sure, has he hasn't stopped yet, so he's going to be a very late goer here, or did he stop early on and needs to make another stop? Not quite sure why he is so far in front at the moment.
And don't forget, Steven Stoyles did stay out earlier the first time, and he did have a massive gap. So we'll see if that helps him out, because right now Steven Stoyles is just now making his way into the opening corners as you see this current pack make their way into Air Rouge. So I don't know. It's really something to think about right now as Stoyles continues to make his way around this track, but right now it's very sizable gap as they're nearly 3 wide, and a few passes being made between Simon Fadley, Cruz, and Calvo. Well, it's now a 4-car fight. Now the question is, will it be a 6-car fight? Will this bring in Benny Simonson and Anthony Cat?
DeFrida took on 3 cars and cut in the middle of all of them to take another 3 positions here. He is not in one of the lead pack cars, but with that move, he jumps up another 3 spots and ever so closer to that lead battle between El and Simon. Once we see if Stoyles is going into the pits, we'll be able to talk a bit more about where this is going, how this is going to shake out. If Stoyles does not go into the pits, I would say he has to go for another stop, which right now is not going to be a terrible thing. I wonder how much time you do gain by stopping another time. I'm just, I'd be shocked if he's not going into the pits on this lap. I wouldn't know why. I'm walking right now, and it does appear, though, that he is about to come into the pits. He went into the pits 7 laps ago, so that's how long he's been running here on this same set of tires, if they're even doing tire changes. But there's going to be more gas put into that car, and looking throughout the rest of the field, basically everyone in the top goings are all fresh on fuel. And yes, as I said, Stoyles is going into the pits, but he actually hits the pit wall on his right side. So now we're going to have a 4-way battle for the lead in the last few laps of this race. Simon is going to take control of the lead going into the chicane. 4 drivers all have a chance. Alfadi goes to the outside, does a cutback maneuver, and gets some good speed coming out of the chicane into the source.
I'm wondering how much fuel Steven Stoyles will take, but right now they are already passing Stoyles in pit road, so well, he tried, and unfortunately it was just not enough. So now we see pretty much who is going to be involved in the battle for the lead, and it's a group of just about 7 cars all in this little bit of a line here. Maybe, granted, a little bit of a gap between Anthony Cat and Gonzalo Calvo, but regardless, it could bring Cat and Simonson into this battle. We'll see how much these drivers in the front pack battle, however, because that's going to be something to really keep an eye on.
Yeah, Anthony Cat and Benny Simonson, they're from P5 and P6. They are close to the battle. They're going to have to work together to get inside. But as you see, all the top 4 drivers in line. But look at this, El Fadley drafting. He's going to cut back a bit on Simon. Doesn't want to make any brash moves down to Lecombe. And he's just going to, again, fall right back in behind the rear of Simon. Martin Cruz in P3, Gonzalo Calvo in P4. And don't forget, this isn't only a battle for the lead. One of these drivers in the top 4 will go home without a podium spot. And podiums, well, that's all about pride here, as we do see El Fadi get a little bit wide there, coming down to this big left hand double gauche, or double left as they do have in French. Gauche means left in French, so the double left hand turn here, where in Formula One you'll see some breakneck speeds. The Skip Barber you'll see around 90 miles per hour in some drifts. What's scarier? Well, Gary, I think that's up to personal interpretation.
And personal interpretation is something to really remember, especially with the fact that, well, said personal interpretation can also, well, yeah, I guess it just depends on really what some of these drivers are more used to. Personally, I think it's fair to have a Skip Barber going 90 miles an hour around as compared to an F1 car going, say, well, a lot faster. But regardless, the group behind is trying to catch up just ever so slightly. They're barely in the tow, and that is Benny Simonson now, or Simonson, leading that himself and Anthony Cat up to the back gearbox of Gonzalo Calvo. You can see them just in the background there, but they are closing the gap ever so slightly here, and kind of trading back, slingshotting their way up, kind of trading the draft between each other, or slingshotting their way up. They may be involved in this.
El Fadi has a big run going into the final chicane, but thinks better of the move, wants to line up a pass going late on. He locks the brakes up a bit and loses some time coming out of the final chicane. The drivers in P5 and 6, Cat and Simonson, they're absolutely going to catch up. But other than that, I don't see any of the rest of the group from P7 on back having any shot at getting a part of this battle. It's Simonson on front. That's the battle for the lead and the final podium spots as we head down this straight into Eau Rouge and Raidillon. Man, we're going to get a great battle, definitely going into this Kemmel Straight. We might see 3 wide again. I'd be shocked if we did not. Anthony Cat and Simonson lost a bit of time going up the hill, and now as you see, coming out of the Kemmel curve onto the Kemmel Straight in line, taking a peek down the right side is El Fadi. Simon is actually going to be that man, and El Fadi gets out on the left-hand side, and into Lake Holmes takes the lead. There is a pass, though, happening with Calvo, and Calvo gets into P3. Martin Cruz is the big loser out of that battle back in P4.
I think Gonzalo Calvo would have had at least second place, or maybe even a little bit of an attempt at getting second place if he had a little bit more slipstream, but unfortunately he could only get by Martin Cruz, and well, since Simon and Al Fathi were already side by side, that was pretty much it. That was already it for those drivers. That was it for the momentum of the 202 of Gonzalo Calvo, at least for that time. He does have, coming to the start-finish line at least, 2 more laps, but he also does have another attempt when they head down into the near final section from about turn 19 or so. Sorry, from about 16 to turn 19.
Less than 2.5 laps to go here in the season 15 opener in the 2K World Cup. Skip Barber Formula 2000 cars are all the rage in this one. 46 drivers started, and now we're focusing on only 6 in the fight for the lead. El Fadi holds the tight inside line, gets his tires even into the grass, and picks up some dirt, shoots it behind, and look out. Gonzalo Calvo pulls to the right, as does Simon, to try and catch El Fadi. Going into Blanchimont, they're going to go side by side. This is going to be a hard pass to make around the outside, and it's going to be Simon back in the lead, drifting his way around, heading towards the chicane. And look at this, Martin Cruz, or Gonzalo Calvo that is, overtakes El Fadi. So El Fadi loses 2 positions in just 1 quarter with 2 laps to go. This is outstanding racing.
This is with almost, this is on the lap with 3 laps to go. Now it's 2 laps to go as they cross the start-finish line, and just like that, this is starting to seem like the final lap more and more. Well, next thing you know, it will be the actual final lap. Anthony Cat and Benny Simonson have now caught up into this, so now it's going to be relatively a 6-car battle for the lead, And this is going to be something to really keep an eye on. Then who really, well, no one really knows who exactly is going to be able to capitalize. It's just going to be whoever makes it to the end here. But until then, Benny Simonson lost out on La Source, and unfortunately has a little bit more of a gap than necessary, but maybe trying to get a little bit of space and a little bit of a run. But 3 wide for the lead as they go down the Camel Straight. Alfafi nearly getting his tires on the grass. Simon was split 3 wide. Calvo all the way on the right-hand side. It's going to be 2 wide between those 2 drivers, and it's going to be just a matter of who is really willing to give that gap. And it's going to be Gonzalo Calvo nearly sliding across Alfafi, so +1 position for Alfafi, but Gonzalo Calvo to the lead.
Gonzalo Calvo in the lead in the number 202 car. It's his first lead of the race, and it couldn't have come at a better time. Around 1.5 laps to go. It's still a lot of mileage, around 6.5 miles, in fact, that these cars are going to have to traverse at around an average speed of probably 90 miles, if not 85 miles per hour. I mean, for the most part, these cars are all on the throttle for most of the lap and can reach speeds of up to 115 miles per hour. Martin Cruz has fallen back even farther, and look at this. Anthony Cat is joining the bill. He is in P3. El Favi is in P2, but Anthony Cat wants to get a slice of the action here. Oh man, this is unbelievable. As you see, look back, P1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 separated by just around a second. Some amazing action happening all across the field. We're focusing on this battle in because, wow, who's gonna get to the line first? 5 guys all vying for 1 position. And my guess, I think, Gary, the guy who leads at the end of the Camel Straight next lap will not be the guy who wins, because this is a big drafting position here. El Fadi is going on to into the inside at Blanchimont. They all have to slow down and drift because look who it is. Anthony Cat going fast, and look who's going around El Fadi. It's Simonson. He's cutting into the middle of the chicane. Simonson goes to the lead. He breaks late though, has to come back to the curbing, and he comes out of nowhere to start the final lap with the lead, but he's going to get off the track. He is out of fuel. Simonson has no fuel left in the tank. He's out of it. Going into La Source, there are 4 cars that might have win at this point. Calvo inside line, he's back in the lead. Outstanding action. This is unbelievable. 4.5 or 4 miles left on Spa-Francorchamps circuit. Unbelievable action here. And you see going through Eau Rouge, Anthony Calvo, or Gonzalo Calvo has the lead with Anthony Cat right behind him. Calvo gets a little loose off the curbing of Radion, and Cat's gonna look to take the lead. But look who's with him, it's El Fadi. He wants the lead right behind Cat on the right-hand side. But look who else wants a part of the battle. It's Cruz. He cuts by them all, and he's down the left-hand side. He's gonna take over with the lead of the race into Les Combes. Doesn't get a good apex though, comes back on the left-hand side, gets the curbing. Unbelievable action from P4 to first in a matter of 1.5 miles. Still half a lap to go here. El Fadi in P4, does he have something left in the sleeve, in the tank? I'm not sure about that, but Anthony Cat and Martin Cruz, they were not really speaking for themselves at all until the last lap or so, and now they are the 2 in front. El Fadi has fallen back out of a podium spot into 4th, and Calvo is in P3. Do all of these cars have enough fuel left in the tank? I think they will, but it's going to be a lot of nerves going through the arms and hands of these drivers. Coming through the final sector of Spa, Calvo watching intently. He gets loose going on the curbing. El Fadi, you're watching his onboard shot now. 1 sector to go. Unbelievable action. Anthony Cat in position number 2. They're going to be right on the throttle the entire time. It's anybody's race. Calvo will slot himself behind behind Cat, who has a great run on Martin Cruz. They might go 3 wide. Cat in the inside position. He takes the lead, and he looks to be clear of Martin Cruz. Calvo going down the inside of us as well, and he gets P2 as Calvo goes wide off the track. Alfati's in P3 now. Anthony Cat in the last chicane has the lead. Calvo goes late on the brakes, goes a little too in deep, and Cat just needs to negotiate one more corner as Alfati goes over the curbing, and that's the race. Anthony Cat wins the first race in season 15 of the 2K World Cup at Spa.
And it's a 4-wide finish behind them for various positions. Some drivers may be running out of fuel at the very end. Tomas Simon being one of them that ran out of fuel. Not sure where he cycled through as of yet, but unfortunately for Tomas Simon, he had to pit on the final lap. He wasn't lucky enough to finish the race under green, under conditions. So well, he was lucky enough, I believe, but we'll just have to wait and see where everyone sorts themselves out. But my goodness, and it's still finishing up here as well.
That was a lot of fun. I think we can all say that is a lot of fun. Although I don't know if the results are official yet. We have the podium being Anthony Cat, Gonzalo Calvo, and Mehdi Alfathi. But Anthony Cat, like I said, it wasn't going to be the guy leading at the end of the Kemmel Straight. There's just too many drafting positions, and you've got to feel bad, though, for some of the guys who had great chances to be a part of that fight. Benny Simonson, man, what a upsetting run for him. One more lap and a little bit more drops of fuel, and he is good. Still waiting for the results to be official as the cars have come off the circuit. We still have a few of them actually finishing up here. Wow. Gary, what a race. What are your immediate thoughts following it?
These drivers always know how to put on a finish, and after a 5 to 6 month break, it seems like it's still the same old usual 2K World Cup. And I am glad that these guys are still racing it out, still doing an incredible job. And right now, still a couple drivers managing to finish up, but absolutely incredible racing here as per usual. And well, I'm glad that they are back, and definitely they did not miss a beat either way.
Well, if this is how the racing at Spa will be, I am very curious to hear or see the racing at Zandvoort, which is a much tighter circuit and does not have as many opportunities for the draft. So a lot more drifting, I think, will happen at Zandvoort and the beaches of the Netherlands. And we're going to go through this list, the final list for the drivers here in just a few seconds. We have it up. Anthony Cat, obviously, is the winner. Gonzalo Calvo and Mehdi Alfathi are the top 3 podium drivers, separated by less than a second. Martin Cruz, 2 seconds behind, and Diego Francisco is 4.5 behind. Philip Lebert has a good run and finishes P6. Kane Halliburton, unbelievable job for Kane to finish P7. DeFride, he'll be a little upset at the P8 finish. Procario is in P9 and Osborne P10.
In 11th through 20th, it is Thomas Torp. Taro Mernenti is going to be finishing in P12. Jonathan Dance finishes 13th. Andrea Amon finishes 14th. Gustavo Condi rounds out your top 15 with Daniel Camerari finishing in 16th. Pete Mobroten finishes in 17th. Daniel Forgnari, that's definitely a mispronunciation, apologies, finishes in 18th. Scott Velez finishes 19th, and Don Parks finishes in 20th.
We're going to quickly roll through the rest of this list as I think that will be a theme going forward that we'll talk about the top 20, and then everybody else after that we won't. Alejandro Lero gets the 1 point for finishing 40th, and everyone you're seeing now from McRitchie on back will go pointless. You have to finish 80% of the race to qualify for points. And wow, what a fantastic race. Don't go anywhere. We will have some of the top finishers for a quick round of interviews here on Race Spots iRacing Esports presentation. We'll be right back.
coming up to the line, being chased, and it was Braden Johnson.
Unbelievable finish.
It was 1/1000th of a second between them.
Green flag in the air. We are racing in the 2020 24 Hours of Daytona.
They go door to door for the feature race lead here on the last lap of the race.
Side by side for the race lead in the final corner at Homestead. Down the back straightaway, 3 wide again for the race lead. This is unbelievable stuff here tonight.
Loma is going to have to be very deep on the brakes, and he is very deep on the brakes. It's side by side through the corner. This is for the win.
It'll be side by side. Davies low, Ottinger high. To the very inside is Garrett low. 4 wide at the stripe.
For all his work here on this outside line, neck and neck. Who's going to back out? Does anyone back out?
Verstappen starts to squeeze on the inside, and now he'll try and straight line it. Goes under the apron, drag race to the line. It's so close to call.
Hello and welcome back to the iRacing Esports Network's Race Spots presentation of the first round of Season 15's 2 World Cup. And what a fantastic race to the very end that it was. And we have a fan favorite in for some interviews. Mehdi El Fathi, you have a lot of fans in the YouTube chat. I'm not sure, are you aware of that?
Me?
Yes.
Oh, I wasn't aware, to be honest, but yeah, that's cool. That was a great race, to be honest.
Yeah, no, it was a fun race to watch from the the commentary booth, the virtual one at least. You were right there at the end. We saw you jump the curbing. What was the feeling like once you were going past Blanchimont into the final chicane?
I was already thinking about this a few laps before, trying to figure out a proper strategy, and yeah, going almost 3, 4 wide at Blanchimont. That was tough. I really didn't want any contacts, and yeah, I tried to cross. I think it was Gonzalo, and well, he defended pretty well on the inside, and I couldn't get P2, but yeah, P3 is
So,
quite nice.
So we see this showing up in the 2K World Cup drivers history. This is your seventh race now, and you can correct me if I'm
Yeah.
wrong. And you only have one top 10 before this. Your first podium, however, how's that feel like?
Oh, really excited to be honest. I really didn't expect to be P6 in quali. The one lap shootout is that can lead to off tracks, and then it's pretty much race over. But yeah, seeing P6, yeah, really excited to be honest. As you can hear, I don't really have the words for that, but yeah, that's really cool. Battling with a for the win, that was great.
Is there any sort of just wanting to get right back into the car and do it again? You were so close at the end there, but it's got to be a feeling of excitement.
Oh yeah, yeah. I think you can pretty much hear it uh, in my voice. But yeah, that was really, really exciting. And if I could do that pretty much every time, like close battles for the win, yeah. And especially clean battles, yeah, definitely.
Well, thank you so much. Before we let you go, you have any teammates or sponsors to thank?
Oh yeah, obviously. Well, so first of all, thank you to all the racecraft drivers. All the hard work we've been doing for quite a while now. Pretty much everyone at Racecraft Esports, yeah, and major props to my teammates Diogo, Kate, and Andrew for getting back from quite a lot of positions. So yeah, yeah, thanks a lot to them and the team, obviously.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much. Congratulations once again for that podium finish. I'm sure you're going to be very happy going forward in 2 weeks. In 2 weeks, you're
Yeah.
going to replicate the performance?
Oh, I have no clue. I have to see how it goes at Sandford. We'll be doing plenty of training with the team, and we'll see how it goes there.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Mehdi El
Thanks
Fathi,
to you guys.
everybody. Of course. Thank you so much. Gary, what a fun guy to talk to. You can tell he's buzzing right now.
He definitely is, and someone else who I'm sure is definitely buzzing is Aaron DeFrita. Although aside from that final portion of the race, Aaron DeFrita, you were pretty much up there for the most part, but unfortunately kind of lost the draft near the end. But regardless, though, you managed to come home with an eighth place finish.
Yeah, a bit disappointed to be honest. I lost some in my second pit stop. My fueling button to stop it didn't work, so I lost like 3 seconds there, and basically lost the lead back there. Otherwise, I would have been up there, I think. But yeah, some good and clean racing in the end, hard but fair. So it was still a nice end and still nice race. Beforehand, I didn't expect to be up here. To be honest, I was slow all week, or basically all today, because I did the 24 hours of Nürburgring yesterday. So, yeah.
You must have been, yeah, you must be, yeah, I can kind of see how you'd be not only a little bit disappointed in tonight, but also very, very, very tired. So,
Yes.
but regardless, though, heading into Zandvoort next week for the fifth time in the series that has had to Zandvoort as well. Anything that you're looking ahead for?
Well, it's basically my home track, so it should do good there.
Oh, hopefully that. Oh, yeah. Hopefully we do see you in the podium position by the end of the race. Before we let you go, is there anyone that you'd like to thank for your eighth place finish?
Yes, I want to thank my team, ERT, and our main sponsor. So yeah, thanks, and Logitech as well. So yeah, thank you.
Well, thanks for your time. We hope to talk to you again. Time.
What a fun guy to talk to as well, with Zandvoort being his home track. So a bit of domination. We don't know if the draft will let anyone get away from anybody. But now we've got to talk to the main guy behind the 2K World Cup, Philippe Lebert. And Philippe, awesome, awesome race. Obviously, maybe not the result that you wanted. You did get a P6, if I do remember correctly. So you fall back, and I'm sure you're feeling pretty happy about that.
Oh yeah, I haven't raced in 5 months, so it's my first race since November of last year. So I'm pretty happy with fifth. I didn't really expect that, but I'm really glad to see we had 45 or 46 cars on the grid. which is incredible to start the new season.
You go 5 months without a race, and then you are so close to a top five finish. That's pretty incredible. Now, as the organizer, seeing how many people have joined into this series at the beginning, do you have a good feeling? What are you feeling going forward with the series just getting started?
Well, I hope we can keep that enthusiasm, and because in the past we used to start with 50 cars and end with 20 cars for the last race, but I have a feeling that this season will be different, that we will keep the momentum and have at least 30 cars on the grid for every race, which is what the 2K is famous for, close racing with a lot of cars on the grid. And yeah, I'm looking forward to that.
It looked like from our camera angles, you ever see a hot balloon field where all the different colors are very close to each other? That's what it felt like with the 46 car field here at Spa. So you move on to Zandvoort in 2 weeks' time. What are the differences you can tell us from a driver's perspective in driving both tracks?
Well, first of all, it's impossible to pass at Zandvoort. So we'll see a lot more kamikaze moves because people just can't get by, and qualifying will be super important because there's only one spot where you can pass, and that's on the start-finish straight. And if you keep the inside, it's almost impossible to get by on the outside. So the racing will be a lot different because here we saw a lot of people working together to gain time and or to catch a group in front, but that's not going to work at Zandvoort.
Well, kamikaze moves means fewer cars by the end of the race, but kind of more excitement back up in the booth. Thanks so much, Philippe. And before you go, anyone you want to thank, sponsor or teammate wise?
Yeah, I want to first, well, especially want to thank the people who are still faithful to the 2K Cup, because many people thought it was going to be the end of it forever, and they stuck with it, and they're back. And so I want to thank everyone who showed up today. And I also want to give a shout out to my team, TT Racing. Tron had bad luck today, but Andrea had a good finish. So
Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Philippe. Take care. And I guess this is going to be the end of the first round's broadcast here, Gary. It was a fun race to watch from our perspective. I'm sure that some close misses and near podium finishes are going to keep people wanting to come back to Zandvoort and, have a redo of sorts.
Yeah, it's going to be really exciting to see how this next season plays out. I'm very excited, and of course, you can see when the next race is. Zandvoort, May 10th at the same time. And again, I'm quite excited, really, that the 2K World Cup Series is back. It was incredibly fun the previous season last year at this point, I guess I can officially say so. But regardless, after this week, well, it's going to be something that's going to be really looking ahead for, especially with how many drivers were here tonight.
Well, I'm super excited to see some drivers try to pass on a circuit that some say is impossible to pass at. So you see the people behind the scenes, myself, Dylan Coyle, alongside Gary Weaver, Arjuna Kankipati is the man behind the camera work and production team, and Esteban Balag is the reason we have the cameras. Beautiful work by everybody involved. And thank you to the viewers who watched this, a concurrent top of around 322. So thank you for your support. This has been a presentation of Race Spots 2K World Cup broadcast on the iRacing Esports Network. Thank you all for tuning in, and we'll see you next time at Zandvoort. This has been Dylan Coyle, and good night and good racing.